Right, hello everyone. So we're popping back on. This is Kelly with me, and we are going to talk today about human design and how it affected our life, and how once we embodied it, we realised like the changes. And we was having a little chat before we popped on, and just to say like how much our life has changed since we decided to embark on the journey of embodying human design into our life, into our lifestyle, the type of business that we run and things like that. So we thought we'd share some of the stories with you. So do you want to go first, Kelly, or shall I go first?
No, you go first.
Okay. Right, so I sort of learnt about human design probably about 4 years ago. I can't even remember how I come across it now. It was maybe I'd seen it on a podcast or something, so it just sparked my interest, like a lot of things do. So I thought I'd have a look into it and pull up my chart. So when I pulled up mine and did mine, I'm a projector. So there's a lot to the projectors, but it's like one of the more lesser types, if you like. So there's 5 types, and I realized by doing my chart, everything started to fall into place for me. So I started to understand things a lot more, considering like most of my family are generators or manifesting generators. And I just thought, I feel like I'm like the odd one out. Everyone else was seeing things differently, doing things differently, and it was the same old thing, like you've got to work hard, you've got to do this, you've got to do that, you keep going and all of that. And I think at some point, I was like that maybe when I was younger. So I didn't know about my design then, but I actually think like the job I did for in my 20s, I really loved what I was doing. So I don't think I really noticed that maybe I wasn't living in my design. But as time went on, I could say that I wasn't, because I was in that culture of being up in London, the constant doing, the travelling, and there's just not necessarily was it the same old, but it felt a bit mechanical. And I used to spend a lot of time looking out the window, trying to find reasons to get out of the office. I even eventually I got set up at home so I could leave early and stuff like that. I just knew it wasn't for me. And then I embarked in doing the type of work that I do now, which is all based around spiritual subjects and teaching and that type of thing. But anyway, going back to my design. So once I started looking into it and see the reason why I don't think like everybody else does, because the projector, they can actually see things from a different perspective. So their way of, I don't know, things just coming together for them and way they can see. I'll give an example. I always used to think certain things and wonder why other people couldn't see it. So I was thinking, why can't they not see it? It's just logical. It's simple. And like now I realise they wouldn't be able to see it because my makeup is completely different to their makeup. So like when you're in a family full of generators, say, and their way of being and doing, of course, if you look at your chart, because I'm a splenic projector, so I have a lot of centres open. So therefore, when I get near the generators, which is like constant energy type, that would affect my energy field anyway. So they would sort of fuel me, if you like, even though I do have the root one defined, which I think is slightly different in some of the projectors to be whether they've got their root defined, because that's like the energy generator from down there. I know that the same is as well, but I think that's probably why I always seem to have quite a lot of energy, apart from the fact of being around all the generators. But when I started looking into working to my true design and studying it, and then because the projectors have to sort of sit back and just everything from a distance, and they have to be invited in to do things. So when I was at some point during doing my other type of work, like readings, healings or whatever, I felt like I was chasing my tail all the time. Like I was constantly putting it out there, hoping people would like want to buy and do stuff from me. And then when I realised that you just have to be seen, just sit back, relax, change your energy, and then people come to you, which is how it is now. And we're not meant to work 24/7 every day. So I don't work every day. I work 3 days a week or whatever I do. I sort of put them into days that I can do some here and some there, and free up a lot of my time. And I find for me that I work much better.
Yeah, more productive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
much better from that, and my energy is much higher, and I find people more attracted to my energy.
Yeah.
And that stuff comes in, so people will then start to ask me if they can work with me and do stuff.
Yeah, collaborate and things like that.
Yeah, so when you come from the other style that I was before, is I was probably repelling people because it's like that chase all the time.
Yeah.
And it doesn't feel right. It doesn't sit right in yourself anyway when you're doing that.
And you were brought up with generators, so you've probably been programmed in a way to you've got to do this, you've got to do that, because they wouldn't see anything from a different perspective being generators. So they probably looking at you like, Tracie, why aren't you doing this, or why are you struggling so much to do this 9 to 5 job in the office? But for you it just wasn't natural, and you're probably getting more rest now, which projectors obviously need a lot of rest. They can't just do things constantly. So that's probably really helpful to you, I imagine.
Well, when I started to when I decided to be self-employed and do what I wanted to do, how I wanted to do it, the saying then what went around my family is like, oh, she's got a life of Riley. That's what they always say. And I used to think, really? I do actually work, you know, I do just, but them looking at me because I wasn't constantly grinding, they thought I had I didn't say it wasn't a bad life or anything, but they just couldn't understand the concept that I just didn't need to be 24/7 at it. I mean, find ways to make money and get money in, or do whatever it was.
Like kind of whatever it takes, I suppose. Like, because I'm a manifesting generator, but just going to a pure generator like my husband, they've got this energy where they can keep going even when you think you can't keep going. You can still push yourself that little bit. Obviously you still need to rest, but you have this kind of continuous loop that you can just get on with things and get a job done until it's complete. And that probably is quite difficult from other people seeing you not doing that, who are that's naturally for them, thinking, wait a minute, why isn't she doing this? So it does look more like you're going to go with, oh, well, you know, you're living this luxurious life, when that's not the case. You're working just as hard as you possibly can, but you're getting better results out of it for you as what your human design type is, I suppose.
I think because projectors put a lot of energy into the one thing that they're doing at that time. So we're very focused and absorbed in what we do, so we can get results in a shorter space of time. So that maybe it might take a generator, say 10 hours to get there, we'll get there in 5, because we just focus right in on it and do it. I think that once we make up our mind that we really want to learn something and do something, we had that capacity to get in there and just learn it and see it to the end, just to keep going. And that generators find it more of a grind. I've got to do this again today. I've got to do that again today until we get to the end of where they need to. Whereas we're not like that. We can see the end result. So we're quite good at seeing sequences, patterns, and seeing things from a different perspective that other people can't see. The other types maybe can't see. So just using it to your advantage, really.
And it's funny because like I grew up the complete opposite to you. I'm a manifesting generator, and the people that I was brought up in, like that when I was younger, are all projectors. So they probably see things. I'm being a manifesting generator, I can kind of like go off off the track a little bit, in the sense of my family are probably seeing things of, this is the way you've got to do things because these are all the outcomes. Whereas I'm like, do you know what? I'm going to randomly, I'm going to fly to the moon, for instance, and they'd think I might as well have said that, because they're going to think, what are you talking about? That's never going to happen. But then the thing that I've decided I'm going to do has tended to happen. So it's funny how we've both very similar but complete opposites in that regards. So I imagine if you had lots of if you projectors around you, and one person was doing the opposite and you didn't know about this, you'd probably be like, what are they doing? Why are they going to do that? That's silly, because my sister, for instance, and my mum, they're both projectors, but they're both very different, and they're both very different to you. So I guess it's because you've got all your different centres, got different centres open and centres defined, so it changes the way that they would look at the world compared to the way that you would look at the world. I'm not 100% sure what they are, but you said you were a splenic.
Yeah, mine's intuitive. Yeah, it's quick. I make decisions really quickly, so it unfolds good or it doesn't. There's no in an R-ing or waiting, not like generators, they need to wait a while. But for me, I can make an instant decision. Yes, it's good, and go for it, or no, I'm not doing it, and just leave it. But I've always done that.
Yeah. So, and that's funny because
and
that's funny because that's what we were talking about earlier. It's funny how naturally your body, your mind, does the things that it's always meant to do. Even if you don't know about this stuff, you're naturally programmed to do that. But when you don't do it, if you get easily influenced by somebody else who's like, if I quickly went with a response, that would put me in a bad way, and I would know deep down, oh, I shouldn't have done that, but I'd still be inclined to go, you know, if I wasn't living my true self. But in my mind, I'd still know, my mind would still know I should have waited and responded later. And the same for you. If you waited, if someone said, oh, don't respond straight away, wait, you would know deep down that you'd made a mistake or you'd done the wrong decision.
Yeah, because I think for you, like being a manifesting generator, they go from 0 to 100 quite quickly. Like it seems like a really good idea at the time, and you're all in, and then you get to the next day and go, oh, I'm not really sure if I want to do that now, because you made a decision on the high rather than the neutral ground. But generators, I think, have to wait to respond. They need to sort of wait 24 hours to see how it feels. Their body before they make a decision. I don't think anything ever comes from a generator making a quick decision.
No.
Not from the ones I know anyway.
No, and it's funny because one of the things that I'd learned recently with regards to generators and manifesting generators, because obviously generators, manifesting generators have that generator power, but they also have the manifesting power, which means we can correct on our path. If we're doing the wrong thing, we can self-correct ourselves. Whereas it's really funny because, like, obviously I said earlier, my husband's a generator. If he makes a decision, then he has to stick with that through to the end. But I don't have to do that. I can make a decision. I think it's called my defining moment. I could be like, if we said, shall we go here tomorrow? And I was like, yeah, okay. The minute I get to the door, I might turn around and go, I don't want to do that anymore. And I need to listen to that part of me. Whereas if it was Richard, he'd have to go. I've made that commitment now. We'd have to go. And it's like something really silly, but the times when we go to the supermarket and I'll say, let's have this for dinner tonight. And he's like, yeah, okay. And then we get there and I'm like, yeah, we're not having that for dinner. And you can tell the disappointment, because in his head, he's like, but that's what we were having. Whereas I'd already decided once we were there, I didn't fancy that anymore. But it's really funny how that kind of, it is important to wait and also not to be upset if you know someone who's a manifesting generator, if they've committed something to you, to know that it's not personal if they change their mind last minute. It's just not meant to happen. I think that's really important.
I know, like manifesting generators like to have lots of things going on. They like to be stimulated, so they like to have lots of little projects, lots of little things. And the only like downside to that is like to give their all to each thing. Because they've got to give their energy somewhere. But I know they like to have lots of things going on. So I found that quite frustrating around other manifesting generators, because projectors don't tend to do that.
No.
Even though we always do have more than one project on the go. But I give my whole focus
and do it separately. Whereas I would have like spinning plates. I'd need to be doing them all at the same time. Otherwise, I find I get bored easily. So, and I love change. Like, I think on the whole, I'm probably the only person that I really know that loves change at the last minute, loves to do things differently, spare of the moment. Whereas Richard, for instance, will be like, oh, I don't like this. This is what we're doing. I can't cope with that. And so you're right. It's having all these things all at the same time, rather than I think we'd never get something complete if we had to only concentrate on one thing, because our mind would already be on something else. We'd be like, what's the next thing to do? So it's easier for us to have 3 things going, so we can if we get bored of that, we go back to this one, and like vice versa.
So I think that's really good to have a look into your own chart and see like people watching, have a look at your own chart and just to see what type you are and what centers you have defined or undefined, but then look at the ones that are around you as well, because you can have a better understanding of how they work and how they're naturally working. So you don't get frustrated and angry with them. All that juggling all up there, it can be quite annoying to a projector, because you think, do the thing. Just do the thing, will you? And then, but then when you know them, you go, all right, well, they'll get back to the thing. Just let them do the thing. It's just not going to go into well, so just leave them to it. And you know they go back and do the thing. Because our energy type's completely different. If you say to me to do something, or we need to do something, and I'll go, okay, I'll go full in and I'll do it. I know if I say to you do something, you'll be doing about 3 things at one go.
And you have to wait a week.
Let me flip my screen and let me do this and let me do that. And I just like, okay, that's my makeup, let her do it. But you can tell, like, the people in your family, can't you? Like, because I've got a lot of generators there, so you can't make a decision, and they can't make a split-second decision. Say, like, do you want to go here? And they'll go, oh no, you can't do that to me. I need time to think about it. I think, well, I don't want to do it tomorrow.
I have to admit, I am very much like that. I hate spur of the moment. I like spontaneity, but I hate, like, kind of, if somebody was to spontaneity enough, if you said, do you want to go to Paris with me next weekend? Yes, that's spontaneous to me. But if you said, do you want to go to Paris with me today? No, I need time I need a day or two to think about it, you know. So it's a very weird balancing act with that. But then I'm kind of the same. I do like to make decisions quite quickly, but I guess in the sense that I can go back on my decision. So, like, if me and Richard are thinking about buying new phones, for instance, he has to spend like 2 weeks researching the phone. Is it the right phone? Is it this? Is it that? Whereas I would be like, just order the phone. If we don't like it, we'll send it back and we'll get another one. Do you know what I mean? Like, I can't be doing with this researching and stuff like that. So maybe that's the manifestor in me that I just want to try everything. So I want to try them. If I don't like it, I'll give it back.
So I don't really ever do that sort of thing. I'll get it and then maybe just send it back. I'm not quite as bad as I have to do a lot of research, but I just try and think which one can I work the best that's my needs, and a bit of research, you know, and then I go, that looks good, but I'll have that, and hopefully it'll work for me and it'll be fine, which generally is the case, to be fair. I don't tend to ever have to send things back like that, but that would be like a really big hassle for me to do that. You might find that might be a thing in your family if you've got more projectors in there, that the thought of having to send things back, all that palaver, but they might have the one that suits their needs in the first place. So sorry, I'll just like go on to like how I'd only really discovered human design in the last couple of years through you. But it's funny because when I was working at my old company, at the company I used to work for, and this was about maybe 4 years ago now, I remember one day I just turned around. I don't know if I've told this story on a podcast before, I might have done, but I was working in claims, and then all of a sudden I said to my husband, I was like, oh, I'm going to go and work at the other part of the company in the IT section and do all that. And he was like, no, you're not. You don't have any qualifications. You've done this job for the last like 9 years. They're not going to just accept you into this job. And I was like, no, I will. I'm going to go and work for that side. And I think it only took about 2-3 months, and I was working over at that side, and I liked it for a little bit, but I don't think deep down I was ever supposed to do that job. I've got a money making channel, which means that you're not really supposed to be you're not really supposed to be employed in the same sense of the word employed. You're supposed to make your own money. You're supposed to be in you're supposed to be in charge of your own future. And I think certain jobs, you can't ever be in charge of your own future. If you're waiting on promotions, you could probably be a manager or somewhere like that in a company, but not like the lower person in the team, if that makes sense. And anyway, and I was really miserable and I hated it. After I'd been there about 5 years, but I just really didn't like it. And I thought, I'm just going to give up this job. And I didn't know anything about human design then. I didn't know anything about it, but I just knew in myself I had to give up this job. And then my cleaning business kind of started randomly.
And then I learned about human design, and it's funny how your body and your mind just tells you this is what you're meant to do. So people will know deep down if they're not in the right position, if they're not in the right job. There'll be signs that will, you like, for me, frustration is when I'm not living in my true self. Satisfaction is when I am living in my true self. I was really frustrated at this company event in the end. So my body told me, my mind told me, you need to give this up. You need to. So even though deep down I knew it, and then I did something that I found satisfying. And it isn't until after, when you're doing the research, you find out about human design. You're like, oh yeah, that's how that's connected. And so I was already doing it to an extent. And there's probably a lot of people out there that are probably umming and ahhing about, should I give up this? Should I not give up this? You're worried about how you're going to pay your bills. You're worried about, all that kind of, all the negative stuff that you think about giving up things. But then when you do it, you realize, oh, that's actually the best thing I ever did. You have to look at like losing jobs or losing relationships as, where's the positive? Because there was probably something in there that wasn't working for your design, if that makes sense.
Yeah, definitely. And we did speak like earlier as well when we was chatting about doing the human design. It's like it's okay to get your chart, and it's to know your centers and know your lines and know your gates and know your channels, and that's a good starting place for you to understand and get you back on track. But you also have to do the embodiment work as well that goes with human design. So you can do all that and nothing really changes.
No.
So you have to go in and do the inner work as well.
Yeah.
So you release stuff maybe that you've been holding on to, things in the past, trauma stuff, anything there, all the programming and the limited beliefs and things like that have occurred through your life till you got to that point where usually you get to a bit of a crisis point, and then you start looking for other ways and methods, isn't it, to change your life, because you still feel the same to a degree. You're still in there, isn't it? So like we've done the embodiment work together. So
that's what I was going to say. We've like, it's good that I've learned all of this stuff, and it's really helped because it puts you on the right path and blah blah blah. But we have also done that work in the background. We've done courses, we've done healing, we've worked on, you might even go to therapy, counselor and stuff like that. I'm not saying it doesn't work at all, but it's not going to get the main issue unless I personally believe with the stuff that we did is the thing that helped me to clear all of that, more so than just talking over it and going over it and over it and over it. And that is really important, to stay on the right path. And then once you realize that you're maybe coming off path a little bit, because that happens to everyone, the skills, or you can go back to you or whoever and get that done.
So that was a big thing, wasn't it, to go in? I mean, I had to do the work on myself at some point. I would say it's probably an ongoing journey for everybody. I don't think you just do the program and then you're okay and then you have this wonderful life. It's constant. You have to keep on doing it and doing clearing, and things come up all the time. But going like through the trauma stuff from being young up until whatever age you are, when you discover that things are not working for you, or you discover human design, you still have to go in and do the inner work.
Yeah, definitely.
Which, like Kelly did my program like end of the year, beginning of the year, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it finished in February or something. We finished it.
And we did a lot of clearing, didn't we? We did a lot of stuff through this lifetime. We went back through past lives, generational stuff, limiting beliefs. We did everything, and we made space for you to be able to embody your design, to fully live in your design, is it? And you said to me, like, you're like the happiest you've ever been, haven't you now?
Yeah, I feel I don't get me wrong, I have some days where I feel a little bit, the weather doesn't help me. I can feel a bit foggy sometimes, but no, overall it's not even like happiness, it's the calmness that I feel. It's this, like, when you've got that anxiety, you can just feel it in your stomach or in your blood or wherever you feel that anxiety. That's just gone now. I don't worry about things. I don't know if I brought this up, but like, we had an issue with Richard's pay last month, where we were where they'd messed up the bank account details and they weren't going to pay him the full amount, and we were going to lose quite a bit, like half his wage. And normally, before we'd done that course, I would have been like having a mental breakdown. I think I would have been AWOL. you wouldn't have recognized me on how upset I would have been. But for some reason, my husband, he was very upset and he was very worried. But I was like, it's going to be fine. We're all going to be fine. Don't worry about it. And it was just this calmness that I was like, should I be feeling anxious? Should I be feeling worried? But it was so nice. And I think that's the thing. And don't get me wrong, like, we're always going to have trauma. There's always going to be something. There's going to be something in my life that comes up in the next 5-10 years, whatever, that I'm going to suffer with trauma. That doesn't mean that I'm perfectly cured. I'm going to have to work through that, but it's understanding how you work through that rather than just kind of burying your head in the sand, and being open to like your negative traits as well. Like, as a person, what am I doing that doesn't help this? And I think that what we did really opened up that side of me as well, and identified the things that I didn't help this situation because I acted like this. And I think that's really important.
Yeah, it's the self-sabotaging behaviour, isn't it? It's the medicating, like, not saying you personally, but people do that, drinking, eating, binge eating, whatever they use to try and make themselves better.
Even exercise.
It could be anything.
Anything. You might not think that it's a bad thing because what you're doing is healthy, but if you do too much of it, it's bad. It can, like, it's what Richard did not that long ago. He was going to the gym 4 or 5 hours a day, and I'd say to him, you can't do this. It's not, you can't keep this up. And so even if you think, oh, it's not bad because I'm not drinking or I'm not taking drugs or I'm not doing this, you still have to look at yourself and think, oh no, I am doing that though. I am a little bit obsessed with that. And then that will maybe help people to realize that they're not in the place that they should be.
Yeah. And the other thing we did was embody the shadow side as well. So acknowledging like what your bad bits is and loving all of yourself regardless of just tuning into those aspects of yourself. We all have them. We're all born with a shadow side. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, but it's how you channel it and how you work with it as well. And I think like everything together with like doing the human design and looking at your channels and looking at your gates and what centers you have open and how you function in the world and everything, it's just like everything pulling in together, isn't it? And marrying it all up to sort of live in your true design, which mine is success actually. My negative is bitterness. But I would say I wouldn't really be bitter. I think I'd get more angry.
I suppose angry and bitter is probably quite similar, isn't it, though? But then I guess like I've got frustration, and I think anger is probably similar to frustration. I guess it depends who you're angry with. Are you angry at other people or you're angry at the situation? Like, and maybe that's where the difference is between bitterness and frustration and anger.
Maybe it's the level of it. What you feel. Yeah, definitely. But it's just open up. I mean, there's so much you can go into with that as well. I mean, how you sleep, how you function, how you should eat.
Even though I don't like, I have to admit, I don't know if I embody my eating one because I don't like it. I think I'm supposed to eat the same thing every day, which I don't like because I like change. So, but I guess you have to do a kind of a little bit of maybe you eat pasta every day, but you have a different sauce every day. So you're not eating the same thing.
Mine's nervous eating.
Yours is the best one in my opinion. I love yours.
So like putting the TV on, eating in front of the telly, just eating it like that. I mean, we're not taught to do that as kids. No. You don't even don't watch we wasn't like, don't watch the telly, just eat your food, eat everything and whatever, not too much chat. But actually that's like best environment for me.
Like a restaurant would be good because you've got all that energy around you, or walk in and eat in your lunch. You've got obviously not sit down food, but if you had a sandwich, take a walk and eat at the same time. You'd think that would never be the good thing to do, but that things like that would be really beneficial for you. That's why you've got the best one in my opinion. But just sitting there and put the radio on while you're eating, that's enough.
Distraction stuff goes completely against how I was brought up, and in my mind I was programmed, you'll get indigestion, you'll have like digestive issues and all of that, but actually I don't. That's why I can eat quite quickly because I get distracted as well, probably why they used to tell us as a kid not to do it. And yeah, perfectly fine for me. Not a problem. I'll probably have more problems.
Yeah.
I was to eat slowly and
Quiet.
so God knows whatever that you're supposed to do, which I just don't do, because I've always got something that I want to do rather than that. So I do think I eat quite quickly, not as quick.
So you can get on with what you want to do, kind of thing. Yeah, no, that makes sense. Whereas I'm the opposite. I just want to go, like, we're going away soon, and all I can think about is all the different foods I'm going to eat, which again goes against what I should be doing, because I should not be eating different foods.
The other thing that I found quite difficult to embody really was the resting. Because people are sort of programmed to see resting as being lazy. Doing nothing is lazy. But it's actually I give myself days off. I think, oh yeah, I feel a bit flat today, or a bit tired, or I did a lot. I'm having a day off.
Yeah.
I give myself a day off. And it took a while to get that okay with it. Like, oh, you should be doing this, you should be on the internet, you should be posting this, or you should. And I think, nah, just have a day off. Might ask some messages or whatever, but I'm not doing any readings today. I'm not doing anything else today. And then I can come back at it, and like I'm good. Like the next day from having a day. Just I sort of see it as a treat, really. Even though it's like probably it's not supposed to be a treat. It's meant to be part of my design, but I just think, yeah, that's really cool. I get to run off and just do what I want to do. But that's not normal to have.
No.
That. You got to
keep going. Arguably, but then I've got the heart center defined, which you're supposed to rest with if you have the heart center. So in some ways, this is why human design is very confusing, and there's so much to it, because on the whole, I'm not supposed to rest, but the center I have means that I should make sure I'm resting before I put all my energy into certain things. So it kind of, you can see how you think, oh, that contradicts it, but it does make sense, because there's certain things that you could go, I want to do this, but I need some time. But I did some wallpapering the other day, just for instance, for a client, because I'm an do everything ever kind of person. And I had one wall left, and I'd been doing it for like about, I don't know, 8.5 hours at this point, and I thought, it's going to take me another hour and a half to do this wall. I could just go home, or I can come back. I was coming back on Monday to do another room. I was thinking, or I could come back Monday and I'll do the room, or I'll finish it off. And something in me was like, nope, you're doing it today. And I just all of a sudden just had this energy just to get on with it and do it. So I think that's where the kind of continuous energy to do things. If it was starting another room, I might have needed a rest, or if it was doing a completely different job, I'd need that rest. But to do that one job, I had all the energy in the world to do it. And there's no way I would have, before that, if you'd said you're doing that for 10 hours, would I have gone, yeah, all right. I'll have the energy for that. I would never have believed anyone, even though I know all this stuff and I know I do have the energy for that. But I think that's really interesting. And the same for Richard. He'll work till like 10, 11, 12 at night sometimes when he's got a lot of work on, and he just has the energy for it. He can just do it, and then doesn't need that much sleep, but then you can burn yourself out as well. So you have to, it's a very delicate act. I think you need to know where you're putting your energy.
Yeah, they're meant to go to exhaustion to go to sleep. I would say, if you are a generator, well, if you're not sleeping very well, it's a good idea to have a look to see if you are a generator, and that means you're not expending all the energy in your system, so therefore you're not ready to sleep, even if you think you should go to sleep. You have to be very tired physically to be able to do that.
It's funny because like years ago when I was younger, I actually just thought about this. When I was younger, I used to like get to about 10 o'clock at night, and I'd be having to go to bed, and I think, I want to go to the gym. I want to use the treadmill. I want to go for a run or something like that. I would never do that because, well, the gyms would be shut, and I wasn't going to go running on my own at like 16, in the middle of the night. But there must have been something in me telling me, you haven't used all your energy today. You need to get on with this. But funny enough, once I did that wallpapering, it took me the whole weekend to recover. I was so tired. So you do sometimes need a little bit longer than you think, but Monday ready to go again. So
it's interesting that you two are both got the generator in you, but you just got lines, haven't you? So you are slightly different as well. Do you know what centres Richard's got defined? Are they completely different to yours?
Yeah, I can't remember off the
So,
top of my head, but he has quite a lot of centers defined. He has more than me, so I think he has. If I remember rightly, I think he has the throat. I think
yeah.
he has the self or the G center. He definitely has the heart. I think he has the solar plexus.
Hmm.
He might have the sacral. He definitely has the root, and I think he has the spleen. So I think the only two, that I think he doesn't have is the crown and the mind are the
Yeah.
two that he doesn't have. But he might not have the sacral, so he might only have three not defined. But otherwise, he has quite a lot of them. Whereas I only have the throat, the heart, the solar plexus, and the sacral.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sacral.
so I don't really have as many. I mean, you probably only have what, two, root and spleen?
So, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's funny how I remember that. Yeah, so it's funny how, like, actually with those centers defined, you use the energy. If you don't have them defined, you use the energy of the people around you that have them. So me spending a lot of time with him, I probably act like I have them all defined because
Yes.
he
Yeah.
because he's with me all the time, so that's quite interesting. I never really thought about that before.
So I'm not sure what the dynamics are with like a projector and a generator together in a relationship, because the projector might feel like you're never getting any rest because the generator's constantly going all the time.
Yeah, well, I think it's more about the lines, isn't it? So, like, I'm a 4/6 and Richard is a 4/1. So because we have the 4, we're very compatible. My mum is a projector. I can't remember her lines off the top of my head. And Garrett, my stepdad, he's a manifester, so a little bit different to a generator, but obviously very different in who they are. But they have very similar lines as well, so they share a number. So,
Yeah.
whereas you wouldn't think that. And actually, it's really funny because like my mum and my sister, my stepdad, my sister's partner, none of us, I don't share any numbers with any of them. I only share one with Richard, but I thought that was but they all share numbers with each other. So my mum and Jessica share, Gary and my sister share, like they all have a number in common, which I think is quite interesting in that dynamic, which probably makes you feel a little bit more like the black sheep of the family, when you don't have any of those numbers. But your relationships, I guess, with regards to different design types, that's the important part there on what you are compatible with, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm a 3/5.
Yeah.
We called it the constant experimenter, I think. That's
Yeah.
what mine's called. So yeah, the 3s are always out there wanting to try new things and do, whether it's going to be good for them or not. They're always going to go and experiment and see if it's good. And then the 5 is, why, well, now I can share my wisdom with you for all the lessons that I learned doing the things I probably shouldn't have done.
Yeah.
I did like a good idea at the time. But it is what it is. But that is a bit like me, actually. I do going out trying different things and seeing if I can do them as well. And also do share my wisdom with people as well from what I've learned.
I think as well for you, because you do, when you share your stuff, you've already done it. So people feel comfortable knowing that what you're saying to them is true because you've already experienced it. You're not turning around and saying, I think you should do this, and you have no idea whether that works or not.
Yeah.
You've lived it, you're living it, you're experiencing it. So it's easier to trust somebody when you know that they're talking about something that's accurate to them,
Yeah.
And that's probably really important in the job you do as well, and why people trust you so much because of that. You're not selling something that you have no idea about, if that makes sense.
Yeah. I forgot what I was going to say then. Yeah, usually most of the things people come to me with, I've probably been there, done it.
Yeah.
Yeah. From, I don't know, whatever you can pull out of the air, probably.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've had experienced it in one way or another. And when you think so, did I tick all the boxes when I was up there thinking everything's a good idea? I'm going to get down here, I'm bloody not going to tick them all next time around. But yeah, it just feels like that. But I mean, I had to do the work, like the healing work and the movement and all of that to clear the pathway for me. But I was saying to somebody the other day, like when I went on my spiritual journey. I mean, I was born like it anyway, so I'd already had experiences and things like that. I'm sure most people know that already. But when I was working in like the corporate field, and I decided that I wanted to give it all up. I just then made that decision, and then thought, I'm jacking my job in, and I'm selling my flat, and I'm going down this road now. And I just did it, and everyone in my family thought I was mad. And even sometimes they commented like, "Do you think you really should have done that back then?" I was like, "Well, yeah, I'm like 30 years down the line, and I'm still doing what I'm doing." So, you know, and I think it was just like their programming and their limiting beliefs, but I didn't have that about myself even. And I just thought, look, if you don't take a chance and make a change, then you don't, nothing happens, does it?
No, exactly. But as well, like the reason why, if they were to do something like that, it probably wouldn't work for them, because they wouldn't have that kind of go to be able to get to where you are now, because they probably have to do different things, and they wouldn't be able to do that same thing. I know that you're doing different parts of the same thing, but they probably wouldn't be able to do that, and that's why it was so alien to them to see you go, oh, I'm gonna give this up and do this, because they've been programmed that, well, not just they've been programmed, but that's not the way they work. It wouldn't work for them.
So like over the years, I would say I was going to do something or learn something or try something, and they'd like make those type of comments, or you know, really think you should be doing it or whatever, but they don't do it now.
No. But how long did that take for them to stop doing that?
About 20 years. They just go, okay, fine, she's going to do that. It is what it is. But it's just like them trying to get their heads round that. But even when I was working in the corporate, I could still see then better ways of doing stuff, and I could still see what was going on and how I could work with the people that I work with, because most of the time I was working with like directors and people like that, like PA and type of thing. So I'll be organising them all the time, and I would get a little system in place. I could see what the problems were or what they needed and all of that. So I always got on really well with all like my managers or whoever I was working for, getting everything in. And the last fella that I did work before I did leave, never forgetting, because he was a Chinese man, and no one would work with him because they all thought it was too awkward. They couldn't get temps in the
Oh, really?
with him. And I come in and I was like, you used to try it on women. I go, no, coffee first. And then he just look at me like that. And he probably never met anyone like me before, because everyone was probably bailing down because he was quite high up. But I sorted all his systems out and everything. I think I told you this story. I even then went home and sorted it all out at home. So sometimes he'd be travelling and thinking I'll be in the office, I'll be at home, and he'd go, oh, what are you doing there? And I go, oh, well, don't worry. What do you need? I've got everything set up at home. And he'd go, yeah. And started swapping his hotels and his flights and sorting his life out from home. So I made sure I had all my systems in place so I could do it. And then when I got paid, I just got paid for everything that I did, even though half the time I was at home. But he was fine. He loved it. And he eventually got transferred. He went to America to work out there for a short time. And he said to me, I wish that you could come with me. And he goes, come back. He goes, would you come back and work with me again? No.
He's like, I wish you could come with me. You're like, I don't.
And because he was, I think he was Chinese, and they had quite a few of those where we worked. They used to go out to lunch, but they'd all go together, and then he'd invite me. I just went for the food. Because they'd all be speaking Chinese. I had no clue what they were on about. And he used to just order and just go eat. So I just eat. So I'd just be sitting there eating. And I'd say thank you, and he'd take me back to the office. I was like, but I had no clue what any of them were talking about. But they just got used to me being there in the end. So that was quite nice. It's probably his way of saying thank you for being awkward all the time. But we actually sort of was really good friends by the end of it. And I think it's because I could understand him. Not necessarily because it was foreign, but
but like you could see it play out, and you could see how the best way to work with him and what he would find respectful kind of thing. And Yeah, because sometimes like you do find that with some people, you might be a little bit like, no, I don't mean rude, but you might be a little bit blunt with some people, and other people might think, oh, don't talk to that person like that. But actually, they are more respectful to you for being like that with them. They don't want the whole doing everything run. Do you know what I mean? So
around after him.
no, exactly. Whereas if everybody did do that, he probably worked out that he could like push for more and people do more, and it would just make people's lives worse, you know, whereas you probably stood your ground and like, nope, doing this.
Yeah, I started doing my worth back then, Kelly.
Yeah.
To be fair. But one thing that whenever I think of him, I always think of him doing his expenses.
Yeah.
And he used to be on the phone to his wife, and she'd be telling him. So obviously they were caning his credit card all the time. And all I could do was, how much? How much? That's what he used to say all the time. And he'd look at me and he's like, oh, she's shopping again. So even the wife and the daughter used to be out spending all his money.
Yeah.
I'd fit in the office, like how much money. But I used to sit there laughing. It used to tickle me. Mm-hmm. You always knew when that word came out, how much? You knew he was on the phone to his wife. So yeah, I got quite good memories of him really. But he was like the last person that I decided to work with in corporate. Yeah. Just went in to do like my spiritual stuff and maybe on the journey that I'm on now. That I've been on ever since. Which is like, and you come across all these things as you go along, because it's just when you think like there's not anything else to learn.
No, there's about 5,000 things.
Something else comes up, so we're like, this come up. So there's the other thing as well called gene keys.
Yeah.
Which sometimes I do that as well. So it's sort of similar. It's based around the similar.
Still your name, isn't it?
It's still got the 64 gates and it's like that in it. It's just a different sort of style to human design. They're both both complex, both are quite hard to learn. It takes a long time. I think even with like human design, you can study it for a long time. Yeah. Never get to the end of it. And I think other people that may have been doing it longer, because you can do it for all sorts of things. You can do it for relationships. Yeah. You can do it for businesses. Yeah. You can just do it for generally how you function in the world. So there's many reasons that people decide to do it. But as we were talked earlier, when we started to notice, like with the embodiment stuff, as we were saying, because that's what we're going to do with it. Yeah. As time moves forward with our own private group that we've got going, is bringing the embodiment into it. But we didn't realise that some of the others were doing it, or it's become a thing, because you can get their chart and learn how they function, can't they? Yeah. Without doing the other bit, and then suddenly it's still coming in. So it's got to be out there in the ether, and people are pulling it in and using it for that. So it's like a tool for growth as well, for spiritual. Yeah.
And also what's really, I find as well, what I really like about human design is I've got my niece who is a manifesting generator, and you've got your daughter who's a reflector, and it's understanding how you bring them up or how you deal with them, but like how you would treat them, because they're obviously going to need different things. And like, for instance, like I said earlier, with manifesting generator, you might get to the door and realize you don't want to do that anymore. Now, that is my niece all over. Like she's like, should we go to here? Yeah, I want to go here. I want to go here, talking about it for days. And then the minute you get to the car, I don't want to go there. And it's like, oh. But that's that kind of but you have to understand that that's kind of how she is. That's her design, that's her makeup. And I think it's really important to learn what your children are or your grandchildren are, and then put in the way you bring them up to help their design. I think that's really important.
Yeah, because probably maybe I know I definitely wasn't brought up. I was brought up like a generator. Yeah. That wasn't living my true design for a long time. No. And I wonder if it's exhausted. They used to mentally wear me out, some people.
Yeah, I was probably brought up as a projector, to be honest. Like, why don't you see this? Why wouldn't you see the way that this is? Or why wouldn't you see that situation? But that's just not me, so that's why I think it's really important to bring your children up and know what they are, or your nieces, your nephews, your grandchildren, understanding what they are, because it would really help. Like reflexes, we said, like they find it hard to regulate their system because they have no
Centres
defined, whereas you know that with your granddaughter, so you can help her
Yeah.
to, whereas my niece doesn't have that, so she probably can regulate her feelings a little bit more. But then we clash a little bit as well sometimes, because if I'm a manifesting generator, she's a manifesting generator, who's giving in first? You know, I want you to go to sleep, I don't want to go to sleep. Okay, well, what are we going to do about that? Because, you know, which is quite funny as well.
Would she?
Yeah. Yes, definitely.
Oh,
but yeah, it's kind of, but I think that's really important as, like, you know, other steps for people understanding not just yourself but other people in your life and what they are, and it does help your relationships. I think understanding what my mum is, understanding what my sister is, I don't take things as personally, because I know that that's what they are. Yeah, and that's really important.
Yeah, I found that once I studied the other designs, then you could see how they work. It's not so frustrating. Yeah, you give them a little bit of leeway for, oh, well, that is their makeup, that is their design, let them get on with it. They'll either come back round, or they'll make a decision, or whatever. Say, like, for instance, my mum's a generator and she takes ages to make the decision.
Yeah.
And normally by the time she's thought about it for 24 hours, she talks herself out of it.
Yes.
Got to be prepared that it sounds like a good idea, but the likelihood of you're actually going to do it, but it's definitely a 50-50. You have to wait and see. Sort of thing. But accept that.
But then the funny thing is, like, with a projector, you've got to listen to your intuition, whereas a generator's got to listen to their gut feeling. So really, you can, even though you should wait, you could still get there pretty quickly as long as you listen to your gut. And if you wait too long, you could be talking yourself out of that, because you're getting all into your head and things like that. And if you wait too long, you could be ignoring your intuition, and you could be feeding off of other people's feelings and things like that on the situation. So that's really important. I tend to make decisions quite quickly, because I go with what my gut says. I know straight away. If I'm not sure, sometimes I can be not sure, so then I wait. But if I get that instant yes feeling, or then I know that it's not right, or it is right for me. So I try and go with that as soon as I get it, and I try not to hold it off, because I know me, I will talk myself in and out of situations that I do or don't want to do, you know. So so I think that's really important. And also, like, not, you know, sometimes our friends will be out with them, and then they'll say, do you want to go out tomorrow? And I'm like, yeah, okay. But I know I don't want to, but because I need to come home and have a little rest, or I've got a bit, like, I'm an introvert, so I need to get away from people. I can't be around people all the time. But I still say yes. And then I feel like, well, I've said yes now, so I've got to do it. Whereas really what I've learned to say now is, I'll see how I feel tomorrow. And then I make that decision in the morning when I feel, because I actually feel very different sometimes about the situation the next day than I did there and then. I might say yes, not want to, but the next day comes around and I think, oh yeah, no, I'd like to do that now. But I've already talked myself out of not wanting to do it, so I don't enjoy it so much. So it's just learning yourself in that regard, you know, learning what works for you.
I was going to say to you then, what came to mind, right? People might find this useful for those that always have difficult relationships.
Yeah.
You know, so like if you've got quite a lot of open centres, you with somebody that's got a lot of defined centres, but their energy field, or the way that they actually function in the world, say if they've got addictions or personality disorders, say for instance, or anger issues or whatever. Say if you was like a reflector and you was with somebody like that was a generator, you're going to be picking up all that energy from them as well.
Yeah.
And especially if they were pretending to be a certain type of person, depending on your makeup, you might wonder, why do you always get the same type of person? Or because they might be on their good behaviour and projecting a good thing to you while they're trying to reel you in.
Yeah, of course, which people do.
When their true self starts showing, you think, I'm a completely different person here.
Yeah.
I think it's good to know yourself. So I know myself as a projector, that if I was around somebody else that was projecting all that stuff at me, I would second guess it now and think, is it mind or is it that? And I think, no, I'm definitely getting that. I need to stay away from them more.
Yeah.
not work with them, or that they're good for me to interact with. You know what I mean? So
yeah, no, it is really important to know yourself for that reason alone. So you'll know that you're bringing in the right people. And I did do one. I think I did the one of the centers that I did the TikTok video on was the self, and it's knowing if your self isn't defined, but you're with someone that is. It's being around people that have got your best interests, and knowing that, and knowing that, so you know yourself and you know what you want, so that when you're around people, you know that they've got your best interests and they're not trying to manipulate you into doing what they want to do. And that is really important. And that's probably the same for a lot of the other centers as well, but that self one is definitely the biggest one to know when you're being manipulated or something like that. You know yourself, even if it's defined or not, you do know yourself. So you need to know what is best for you, and is that person actually genuinely good for you or not, because you're more easily influenced if your centers are non-defined, so you can be influenced by other people. Whereas like if you, like for instance, my heart center is defined, it means that my emotions are my emotions. I don't pick up on other people's emotions, whereas your center isn't defined. So if we were together, you might be angry or upset about something, but you might be picking up my emotions on that. And you need to know, do I normally get upset about this? No, then I'm picking up yours. And that, so you're exactly right. Know yourself enough to know when you're being influenced in the wrong way, I suppose.
Yeah. Well, like we said earlier, when we went to the show the other week, how overwhelming all that energy was in there. Us, because we know ourselves quite well, and we know we sort of stay away from a lot of hectic energy, if you like, energy or whatever that energy was there. It was a lot, wasn't it? For us? And we just said it's taken a good few days to get that our system calmed down, came from but if we didn't know ourselves and how we are as people, we would there was something else going on here.
Definitely.
It goes on for a few days, wouldn't you?
Yeah.
Thinking there's other things going on, but
because I mean I'm still feeling the energy. I don't know about you, but I can still feel the energy from it. I mean, the weather isn't great, so it's all a little bit of different things, I do know that, but that took a long time for me. I've been like near enough having a 2-hour nap every day since I've got home from work. Like, then I'm struggling to sleep, but it's because that energy's just knocked me out. So it does. It's a lot, isn't it, really? But you, like you say, you know that that's where it's coming from. Otherwise, I could be on the phone to the doctors. Why am I sleeping so much?
Or not sleeping, as my case was, until I sorted it all out and tuned in my guides, and they just said, like, it's still the energy. Plus, with me as well, doing the readings throughout the week, I was taking I have an absorbing energy type, so that's what projectors have. So we take on board stuff, and we can absorb it, and we have to alkalize it, or alchemize it, sorry, or we have to learn how to clear it, whatever the case may be. So that I know that being in that show and taking all that energy on board, and everything else, and I was doing the clearing, but it just wasn't enough. It was so like I felt like
I mean, we weren't there. How long were we there? About, in total, I think we were only there an hour and a half, 2 hours at most. But I think we were only there half an hour before we both had to have a little break, and we had to sit down, didn't we? We were like, this is too much.
Then we went to a busy shopping centre and did stuff with loads of people.
But to be honest, that energy there wasn't as bad as the energy at the show. And I think it's because the people at the shopping centre, yes, the energy's a lot, but people are there, like, there's different types of energy, but everyone at that mind, body, spirit event are all there for the same reason. They're all there to try and heighten their vibrations and all of that. So they're all trying on this level, and you're going into that. Whereas like in the shopping centre, you've got low vibration, high vibration. You're not bumping into people with all that. You're not taking on everything in that kind of concentrate.
Absorbed it all, didn't we? And the first stop.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I struggled at the shopping centre as well, but I don't think it was as bad as the. And I think obviously the shopping centre is over like 3 or 4 floors, whereas that thing was one room, so that probably didn't help, did it?
We're not sure that we're going to do that again, are we? After that experience,
maybe like 5 years, and then we'll have forgotten how horrible we felt.
But it was about the time span between last time I went and this one, and I just thought, I don't know if I'll put the system through that. Especially like you, I like to be by myself as well, and I like to get away from people sometimes. Walk up and down like the beachfront or be in nature, and like to keep myself not because so much I'm an introvert, it's more like I needed to be contained.
So do you know really what I learned this recently, what an introvert, or the difference between an introvert and extrovert is? It's where you get your energy from. So it's not actually about, I mean, it is and it isn't, but it's not actually about being with people and not being with people. It's more like, so I'm an introvert, Richard's an extrovert. If he stays at home too long, his energy's drained. He needs to go out, he has to go to his dances, he has to go to work events, he has to do that, and then he comes back feel like buzzing. Whereas if I go to these places with him, it drains my energy, and that's the difference. So maybe you are an introvert, maybe because you need that alone space to gain your energy back. If you're around people, you can't. But I didn't know that. I always thought it meant, oh, you like being around people, you don't. Because I'm like, I do like being around people, but I could only spend like a day or two with people, and then I need a day on my own. I could never be like, you know, even when I went on holiday with my family, it was nice, but I still needed one of those days, a couple of those days where it was just me and Richard. Richard doesn't count as a person, but he's like, no, he's a safe person. Do you know what I mean? So I can get energy with him. But I thought that was really interesting, like how that's something as well. I always thought it was like you like being around people, you don't, and I always think, well, I do and I don't like being around people. So what am I?
Well, I do like being around people, and maybe even lots of people, but it's not a long period of time.
Period of time, But probably because you don't get your energy from them, you get your energy on your own. So you need that time to recover, recoup from being around all that energy. Whereas like extroverts, they need that energy to get that kind of not buzzy feeling, but that kind of like, I can conquer the world. You know, whereas I'm like, I need a year's sleep.
Well, we've been on here just over an hour now, so we can wrap this one up and we can pop back on, and maybe people can share their thoughts with us and what they would like to learn. Obviously, we're going to go through the usual stuff, aren't we? We're going to the different types and the energy centers and the lines, the profile lines, and all the other bits and pieces. So we will cover all those, probably not such long videos for people to learn, but if there's anything else that they might like, just to drop us a message so we can include that into the videos and things that we're going to do.
I was going to say that actually, so you my mind, you projected my mind.
Is there anything you want to say before we close?
No, not really. I think just thank you for watching, and let us know what you want to learn about, and we can share it as much as possible. But we're hoping to do some like workshops and retreats and things like that eventually, aren't we? So where obviously you'll be a bit more dictated to what you want to learn, but like what people want to learn. And also if people want readings or anything, then they just need to get in contact with like readings about human design. Let us know.
So how we do the readings is we do the chart, which takes a few hours to put together. I think my last one took about 4 hours for me to accumulate all the information ready. And then normally I jump on a one-to-one like this so I can explain it to people, and so they can ask questions and find out a little bit more if they want to, but you get it to keep anyway, so it's emailed to you, so you have all the information. So you can just pop on and go and find your own chart. So you just need to Google it and it will come up, and you just put a little bit of information in the boxes, don't you, and it will tell you what type you are. So even if that's as far as you go, I'd say just go in and have a look to see what you are.
You do need your date you do need your time of birth, but if you can't find it out, if you've got no family that would know or anything like that, you can go, I think you can go to the doctors, can't you? And they might have it on their systems. If not, the other thing that I read is if you put some different times in, like midnight, 4 o'clock, the thing that might change is your line. And if that changes, go with what one you feel you are drawn to, which one actually makes sense to you. But it's best to try and find your actual accurate time, I suppose. But also you can find the link on our website for where to find the human, not on our website, sorry, on our Facebook page, where to get your chart from, so you can go on there.
yeah, so I'll drop the link below this video so people can join us on Facebook if you want. And Kelly's doing a TikTok, so we'll drop that on there as well if anyone wants to follow on there.
Yeah.
Otherwise, yeah, drop us a message if there's anything else you want to know about, and we'll be back on again sometime soon for our next episode. So thank you everyone for watching.
Thank you. Thanks, Tracy.
Thanks, Kelly. See you soon. Bye.
Bye. Bye.